Hey everybody, it's Eric Meyer from Instructor Summit. We are on our way to another easy learning data video. The whole objective of this series is to help you learn data, help you learn the big three channels, and kind of get your stick your big toe in the water, maybe your ankle, maybe your knee, maybe we're going to push you in. But the idea is to start slow and build so that you can learn data, have a lot of fun with it, use it to your advantage, become a better driver, shave some seconds off your lap time, learn how to help your buddies, smoke your best friend on the track so he says, "How did you get so fast?" And you can tell him data. So let's get started here. We are using Track Attack, and that Track Attack software that looks like this little icon right here is a free software for Mac and PC. And you can also, and I'm not paid to say this, you can also get the $99 annual subscription, which is absolutely fantastic. Allows you to share data with your friends. Be happy to look at your data if you share it with me. It is a wonderful program that allows for cloud storage, and you can use it in Motec, AIM, Racekeeper, Apex Pro, Harry's Lap Timer. Takes all these files and can upload them, and you can share them. So here we're looking at Mosport, or Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. I prefer to call it Mosport or Mosport. We're using Track Attack, and there's a couple neat little features here, including this one. And if you've never been here before, there's the track layout, there's the new building, there's a bunch of neat stuff. There's one of the most fun braking zones that you've ever experienced in your entire life. And we'll get into some software features later, but for the most part, we're looking at a couple things here. We're looking at this track map. We're looking at this speed trace, and this is one of the big three. We're looking at longitudinal Gs. We'll talk about that in a little bit. That's what you do with your feet. When you brake, it goes down, and when you go to gas, it goes up. Brake, gas. And we're looking at lateral acceleration, which is the turns. That is where your shoulders are pushing on either the door panel of the driver's side door, or you're leaning in toward the center of the car. And in the center here would be, these values here would be the wheel is straight. So you could say the wheel is turned right here, it's turned the other way here, and it's straight right here. It's kind of reflected in this big long straightaway. But we'll get into that in a second. So we're going to go nice and slow. We're going to help you learn data. This is your home track. It's going to allow you to watch this video and go, "Ah, yeah, this is making sense." And that's my goal. So here we go. There are a couple things. These are the big three channels, sports fans, and that's right here. Acceleration, acceleration of longitude, and speed. With these three channels, you can learn this thing really, really, really well. You can learn data well. You add this, the track map, a track map, with or without that map there. If you like that, great. If you don't like it, great. But with these three channels and this track map feature, you can learn data, and you can learn it pretty quick, especially if it's your home track. So I'm going to walk you through this a little bit, and if you understand this, watch another video. Keep understanding this information I'm about to share. Foundational information. Foundation. It's the basics. It's the building blocks. If you can get this, you're on your way. And it might take you a couple of these videos to digest this of your tracks that you know, or tracks that you don't know. Okay, so what we're going to do, and this is some of the software features, we're going to get rid of GPS generated lat and GPS generated long. I'm going to talk about those later. We're just going to look at the speed trace. So we got a couple things going on here, and I'm going to make it really simple. This is the x-axis. The x-axis. And that's important. That's on the test. And when I say test, there's a certification that you can take for these exams that tell you you know this stuff. And how this works is all the way over this direction right here is the 0 foot mark, and that is 0, and that's right on the start finish line right there. So that's where, right there. See that right there? Oh, golly. Let me turn on a better color here. See that right there? That's our start-finish line. And that's zero. That's zero value. That's where our, if you wear those little pedometers when you're walking, that's where you start walking, right there. And then, by the way, the track direction goes this way and this way, if you didn't know that. This right here happens to be our little icon, and if I move it around, see that there? Right here, look over at the track map. I'm going to move this right here down the back straight. All right, there we are. And that's where our car's located. And naturally, this finishes right here, or right here, which is, this is in feet for our track attack software, that little rhino. This is in feet right here on the x-axis, and it ends right here, and looks like it's about 10, 11, 12, maybe close to 13,000 feet, give or take, plus or minus. And we can figure that out later, but you get the rough idea. We can also see right here that this is the y-axis. And I always tell people y is in the sky. And this is on the test too, by the way. Y is on the sky, and this is represented in speed. And this particular unit of measure is mile per hour. If we wanted to change that to kilometers, we could. I think we can change it to some other units of measure. But for the most part, the industry standard is mile per hour. And it's the distance, and the x-axis down here is feet. So let's say that again. We got y in the sky. We got x is distance, and represented in feet. And if you know graphs or you're a mechanical engineer, you probably get this. But if you don't, this is okay. So what I want to do is I'm going to make this really easy and put 2 and 2 together for you. So if this is the start right here, and we're headed this direction, in or about here is about halfway, give or take. And when I say halfway, that's somewhere along here, right? That's about halfway. Well, looky there. That corner and that corner are the same exact things. That corner and that corner are the same exact things. Now, most people can understand over here on the right, the track map, but a lot of people can't understand this at first. So here's how you read this. What do you do when you approach a corner? Well, you slow down, you turn the wheel, you wait, and you give gas, and then as you track out, you go on the gas, right? You feed it in. Think about that. That's what this is right here. We're going to slow down. Remember, this is in mile per hour, right? We're slowing down from 60 down to right here, which looks like about maybe like 45 or so, 40, something like this. It's a really tight corner. And then we're going to accelerate, right, all the way up here to 115 or so. And that's what this neat little vertical scroll bar here does. You can see up here, as we scroll, it's going to give us some values, 115 and change. Right, and that corresponds naturally over here to these values, as does right here over to here, about 74 miles an hour or so. Remember, this is the y-axis, y in the sky, and there's what we're recording in mile per hour, and this is distance. So halfway around the track right here, and if we put our little icon right down here, look over at the track map on the right. See that little blue guy wiggling? There we are, in and right and around apex at 47.9 miles an hour, give or take, right? And we're getting ready to tear down the back straight. See that? To 113 miles an hour. So if that's the easy one, the big back straight, right? You should be able to see that easy, especially if it's on your home track. And if it's not on your home track, you should see that this big, huge straightaway is this big, huge straightaway. Do you see that? And you could also say that this really sharp corner, anytime it's really sharp, it's typically slow or slower or low speed. Low being down, right? Being down over here, 40 miles an hour, 45 and change, or whatever we said, 30, 48 miles an hour. Okay? I want to show you something else. Remember, I'll keep saying this. Y is in the sky, and this is x-axis, right? X is the horizontal. There's the finish. There's the start, is represented in feet. Okay? Well, if this right here, this little V shape is a corner, that would make this a corner, and this a corner, and this a corner, right? And maybe this a corner, and possibly two corners right here. So let's confirm that. Let's see if these, when we're looking at the speed trace, are corners. Okay? Right, etc., etc. This is what learning this stuff is. You want to look at it. So we're going to go all the way over here. Take a look at the track map on the right, on the far right. Now take a look at it on the left. Right, I'm in this little trough right here. It's going to be somewhere over here, right? And you know what? That is turn 1. And as we accelerate and come down, looky here. Looky here. And looky over here. We're in turn 2. We're going to brake. And there we are again. Do you see all those? Now these might not be the exact turn numbers because they can be somewhat different, but these are brake zones that are turns, right? Let's look right here. Let's look at this one right here. We know this is the back straight, and you don't have to have this as your home track to know that, right? This is the back straight, pretty obvious. This would be going to brakes, right? We're going to look at this thing right here, right? That little guy right there. Do you see that? I'm going to put the cursor right there, and there we go. It's going to be right in here. And usually that minimum speed, that little V right here, is usually right or just about at apex. In this case, it's a late apex. It's a really fast corner. This is an incredibly fun corner. And here's another one down here at 67 miles an hour. And another one down here at 68 miles an hour. And we come onto the front straight, and the lap is done. Does everybody see that? That makes sense? Okay, we're going to add a little bit more here. So here we got a couple corners right here where we're slowing down. We got to brake, right? And we got to brake, and we got to brake a whole lot, right? A whole lot from over 100 to, what did we say this was, 47 or something? 48 miles an hour, right? And then we're going to accelerate up here to 113 from 47, right? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. This is a shift. 60. 60 some odd miles an hour. Yeah, 60 some odd miles an hour. Like I said before, that's a shift. It looks like there's one right there too. That's on the test, by the way. Can you see that real close? I'm going to open up this software to make it a little more easy to see. Same back straight. See that little change in slope where it goes like this, and then it kind of goes over like this? That's what that is. That's a change in the rate of acceleration, right? We're going to talk about that in a second. But when you see that, this is on the test, these are shifts, almost always. Not every time, but pretty much always. And we might know that by looking at some other areas. Actually, this might not be a shift as I look at it. That might be a crazy track out right there. It's actually, you want to see it? Want to look? Let's look down in here. Let's find out. These aren't my laps. They were provided. We're going to go right here, and we're going to see what that is. We're going to go right to this spot right here. I'm going to zoom in on the track a little bit more. I'm going to go right there. Well, that could be. That might be a shift to third. Could be. This is a really slow corner. Sometimes it's second, third, it might be fourth. But what you normally have at that 77 miles an hour, you normally have one over here too, And you normally have one over here too when the car is accelerating. And I don't see that, right? I just see this one, but nothing over here and nothing over here. So that might just be going off the track over here, just trying to get everything out of it or something. Maybe traffic. Not important. We'll figure that out. Okay, I'm going to go back to this feature up here in the upper right here for the track map, and then this one right here. It's going to reset the track right here so I can see the whole thing. I'm going to zoom in a couple times, make it nice and big so I know what's going on. Remember, if you're not familiar with that track, this one right here is going to be start finish, and then we got our little guy moving around, right? Okay, here we go. X-axis on the test, Y-axis, in this case, measure mile an hour. As I told you before, there are three big channels in a track map, and you can learn a ton of stuff. Here's the next one, Longitudinal G. I'm going to click that. I'm going to click off, and you're going to freak out, right? If this is all new to you, you're going, what am I looking at? Mommy. Don't be frightened, kids. Uncle Eric's got your back. Here we go. The first thing we see is that this is also the y-axis, and this is also the x-axis in distance. So 8,000 feet right here is 8,000 feet right here, right? And 0 right here is 0 right here, right? And the end of the track right here is the end of the track right here, is the end of the track right here, which is the end of the track right here, and stop. So this is one lap. This is one lap. But if we wanted to change some laps, we could highlight some different laps. And if you look at both these graphs, see them moving around just a little bit here and there. But what I did is I chose to pick this bold one right here, this 138, just randomly, just to demonstrate this. So there's a couple parallels here, and what I like to do is go to the most easiest place on the entire track, which usually everybody understands, and that's this. These long straights, which are the long straights, are right here. Oops, got some software issues, apologies. Or some long straights right here. Long straights right here, okay? So here's what you want to see. Longitudinal G is represented in two things. Positive above the line and negative below the line. If you're taking notes, take some notes. Just write this. It's going to be pretty easy. Positive, see these positive values right here? And these are negative, 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 negative. Okay? Longitudinal, whoopsie. Longitudinal is with your feet. Lateral is with your hands. So when I say your feet, that's brake and gas. So every time you see this, think about what you're doing with your feet. Above here is your accelerator, or your gas pedal, your throttle, whatever you want to call it. And below here is your brake pedal, right? Up here is gas with your feet. Below this line right here, below this line right here, below this 0 line, negatives are braking and positives are accelerating. Now, if we look at the shape of this, really easy to remember, this is Y in the sky, right? That's X. I'm going to keep saying that so you understand these squiggly lines. By the way, pretty much call all this stuff squiggly lines. And if we wanted to put a whole bunch of stuff on here and make it really scary looking, there you go. There's your squiggly lines. We're not going to do that. That's you don't need to do that. You'll have the ability to after you learn some of this. But for the most part, we're going to use these two. This one, speed, this one, acceleration, and the track map will teach you about 80% of the data that you need to know. You can learn a ton and use this for a ton of stuff. You just got to know these three things, right? This big Bermuda Triangle thing going on here, right? Big three. Long G, GPS, track map. Okay, so check this out. So we said that this is your feet, right? Long G is your feet, and we said below this line is braking. Well, check this out. This thing right here is braking, and it happens to correspond right below it with the deceleration from right here. What does that say? About 103 miles an hour down to 48. So let's recap what I just said here. This event right here is the braking coming into here. Okay? So as we look at the speed trace and we're coming right along, I want you to see this right here. This is where the speed trace starts to go down, right here. Well, if we look straight above this, that point right there almost correlates perfectly with the decrease in speed. Conversely, ready for this? Where we go to gas right here, I'm going to go all the way up here, correlates to right here, which are now positive values. So what I want you to think about as you're learning this is, gang, these are braking events, right? And here's kind of 3 of them all in here, right? And here we are. Here's a brake. Here's a brake. You can see here, this part right here, this space right here, is this little tiny brake right in here, right? And then it goes to gas right here, goes to gas right here, and it finishes on the finish line right there. Have I lost you yet? Have I lost you yet? Stick with me. I'm just going to keep reinforcing the basics again and again and again and again. Okay. I want to show you something else. So we know that we know what this is, right? Because we said everybody knows kind of what a straight is. And we know that's right here. And we know we're probably going to have to slow down and turn right here, right? Have to slow down somewhere in here, right? So let's follow that. Let's follow that all the way right here. And we could say that on or about right here and right here, someplace over in here, right? Someplace over in here. Let's go take a look. Right there. Do you see that? Here's where the car is starting to go to brakes. And we can see that in 2 ways. You can see this decrease or increase in negative acceleration, right? That ties in down to here, right below it. Do you see that? So all the way right here. This is going to be really important. Do you see this little guy kicking up right here? Well, think about that. That if we're going up in mile an hour, right? We're going from 90 to 93, something. Let's take a look at it. 91 to about 93. It's 2 miles an hour, right? I want you to look up here. See this little guy right here, this little positive guy right there? See that right there? Right there. I'm trying to make it right there. That's that little amount of throttle that pushed us through this little straight right here, right? Do you see that? Before we went to brakes again, which took us down here. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to start relating these two traces or graphs or squiggly lines. And when you see something here, take it down here and see what it's doing. You can also take it over here, right? And say, okay, what the heck is this? So we know that this is 0 right here. We know that this is 0 right here. Oops, I'm having software issues. There we go. We know this is 0 right here. So this would make this turn 1. And this would make this the braking effort for turn 1 as represented in negative G's, negative longitudinal G's. Remember, longitudinal is what you're doing with your feet. That's on the test. Positive are values above the 0 line. There's the 0 line. Negative are braking are below the 0 line. There it is, negative, right? Negative, negative. So that's where we're on the brakes. So all these things are brakes. There's 3 of them here that correspond with 1, 2, 3, right? Notice this really big one corresponds with a big decreases in braking, right? And that's going to be right in here. And just for fun, I'm going to show you something here. I don't normally do this. You guys are special though. I'm going to go to altitude, GPS generated altitude. I'm going to show you one of the reasons why this thing is so big. And you wouldn't know this unless you were local. So one of the ways that this speed is able to decrease so hard, and one of the reasons why this thing is so big is right here. This is altitude. This is uphill. And you wouldn't know this unless you clicked on this graph or you watched it on TV, which is really hard to see on TV. You got to drive this. This is the funnest braking corner in North America. And what you see here in meters, 830 to 30, no, that's in feet, sorry, that's a 3-story building from the trough right here. But this part right here, as it goes up, it supports, this compression supports really getting on the brakes and using them, right? Just right here. And then what you naturally see is this is going uphill, right? So half that uphill, and this is even still going uphill, right? And then it gets kind of flat, and there's a series of going down hills all the way down here. So we're what, 840 to 990, what is that, 150 feet change? Big elevation change. Fun track. My favorite track in North America, actually. It is. Check it out. Okay, we're going to take off altitude. There's a bunch of channels in here, but that was just a fun one to show you. That's also on the test, using understanding altitude. And by the way, you see this? It's the same x-axis, right? This is 6,000 feet here, and 6,000 feet here, and 6,000 feet, just like this is 10 and 10 and 10. All you got to do is look up and down and see the relationships. And then I usually go over here and see where they're at on the track, right? So that's the real easy way to learn this stuff. I'm going to take off altitude. Again, the big 3, speed, acceleration, and track map. Together, that will tell you about 80% of what you need to know. What was this one? Which axis? Correct. And this one is in the sky? Yes. Y-axis. Okay, so we're getting some stuff down, right? Starting to make sense? So let's add the last one of the big 3, and that's lateral. You'll notice that's GPS generated right there. Guys, you don't need to play with all these channels, especially when you're learning. Just use these 3. I have been teaching this stuff for a long time, and especially to beginners, and you just need to know the big 3. So lateral. Well, if longitudinal is what your feet are doing, then lateral is what your H for hands, your hands are doing, right? So a lot of squiggly lines here, right? Kind of intimidating. What the heck am I looking at? Let's just break it down and do it really easy. Remember, lateral, also unit of measure in G, also has the same positive above here, negative below here, which is just like this. Positive and negative. By the way, do you see how this line in the middle is kind of equidistant, or in the middle of these two, right? This distance right here is equal to this distance right here. Well, look over here. It's not for long, or your feet. It's almost like twice as tall, right? And the reason why that is this value right here, just what looks like about 0.3, and this value right here, which is a little over 0.1, they're quite a bit different. And that's because a car will brake a lot harder than it will accelerate, right? It will throw you forward, and you're feeling on the front, your inside of your seat belts, your harness, your seat belts, it's throwing you forward toward the steering wheel more than it can set you back and put the back of your helmet on your headrest. For steering, however, pretty much all cars will steer equally and get the same amount of lateral G's on right versus left. And we can see that here at about 1.2, right? And down here, being here about a little more than 1.2. Not much, just a little. Right? See that there, all those values. So this is the lateral grip. There's a good one on there. There's the corner right there. Look at that. Really coming off that corner. 1.4 right there. Do you see that? Really coming onto that front straight. That's a lot of grip. That's neat stuff. By the way, this will be on the test. A typical performance street car or performance sports car, not like a supercar, not like a super duper sports car, but like a stock Camaro with a V8 or a stock Mustang with a smaller V8, nothing really big, and some decent sized performance tires. Those will pull 1 negative G in braking, and typically at least a G, a lateral G in turning as a general rule. Depending on the engine, which is how hard it accelerates, remember, this is our feet. This is longitudinal, measured in G. Above here is on the gas. The stronger the motor, the higher the value here. So a Miata with an old motor is only going like this, and a Z06, you know, is doing something really big, really throwing you back in the back, in the back of the seat. That's the same way for braking as well. But for the most part, a lot of cars brake a lot closer in the negative G's than they do accelerate, because there's a lot of big engine horsepower differences. Okay, so we're back up here. Y in the sky, 0. And I want to show you something here. It's really easy to make sense. We said earlier that that these were turning the wheel. And it has to be, because that's where the Lat G's are generated, right? Right here, 1.2, 1.2. And all we're going to do is we're going to take our cursor and we're going to put it right here in the middle of this, which is right here in the middle of this turn. And I want you to look at this whole relationship right here. If you can get this, you're going to understand the whole thing. So here we are in a turn, right over on the track map on the right. And that location was right here. And I want to show you something. I'm going to draw a line right down through here. I want you to see that this is about the minimum speed, right? We're braking and we're just getting ready to accelerate. Looky here, we're coming off the brakes and we're getting ready to accelerate. And look at right here, we're right in between our lateral G's. So this would be, I'm cranking the wheel in, and this would be what? Opening the wheel up as we add throttle. Let's find another one. We're going to go right down here. Right down here, right? We know that right here, we're going to go to power, right? Right here, we're going to go to power. And if you draw that invisible line up here, looky there. We're going to power. At the same time, we're opening up the wheel. This would be 0 wheel input. The wheel is straight, right? You're at the old 9 and 3 and the wheel is straight. So check this out. See this right here? This is another reason you know you're in the straight. There's a little bit of curve to this. See it? Little bit of curve. So there's a little bit of wheel turn. But if you ever see anything and this line is really in the straight, just like that, you know that car's going down the straight. Does it make sense? And you can actually see that right here, coming onto the front straight. Do you see that? Right, and that would be this part right here. Right there. Do you see that? So this is the wheel. Remember, this is your hands. That's your feet, right? And this is kind of what both of those do. And this would be where you're doing it at on the track, right? This is 90%, maybe even 95% of what you need to know. We had the Bermuda Triangle, and now we have the Bermuda Quadrangle, right? Quadrangle, whatever you call it. Quadrilateral. Anyway, I think I got a B in geometry in 8th grade. I actually threw a pencil in the fan I get in trouble for that, but that's another story. Mrs. Raber, 8th grade geometry teacher. Okay. Let's look at this again and do a recap. There was that big straightaway, right? This is coming off the corner, throwing us back. See how that's higher longitudinal G's? And as we travel down the straight, you can see this goes near zero. And that's largely because of wind resistance, right? You got the car pushing against the wind. And also the fact that we're going 110 miles an hour, right? You ever stick your hand out the window when you're driving? You feel that force? Well, that's pushing on that's pushing on the front of your car and on the mirrors and the wing and the splitter and windshield and all that stuff. That's why a car has a terminal velocity, right? Unless it has a crazy amount of unlimited power. So that starts out high, right? Coming off this corner, you can see how that's got a big slope. It's not quite vertical, but this means over this amount of distance, it's really gaining a lot of speed, right? And then it kind of starts falling over a little bit, which equates to how this thing goes down. Does that make sense? So anytime you see really those three, those are almost always the same, right? There's a big old back straight or front straight. This is something that accelerates and it's slowly going down. And here's the wheels kind of straight. Is that making sense? Okay. Earlier we talked about two things, and I wanted to look at it, and that is right here. Right here. Remember that little guy right there? I'm going to zoom in on it. That little guy right here. And that little guy right here. Well, I think my hunch was right. That looks like a shift. And if you see this, right, there's a momentary lapse of forward acceleration, which is what that would mean right there, that little guy right there. Did you see this? And this little, I mean, for some reason, it didn't connect the dots through here. It dipped down. And it just happens if you look down here, there's a change in that angle, right? It's almost like it's doing this, and then it goes like this. This change of angle right here, right? That's a shift, and that's on the exam, and this is too. And I want you to be able to see that so you can go, what the heck is that? Okay, I'm gonna look for some other neat little things in here. And man, these are brake tracers, or the Long G are looking really pretty. And boy, these are just nice little data right here. Kind of looking around, trying to find some stuff. I want to show you the shape of this right here. This is important. See how this has a kind of a nice little tail on it, right? This one's got one right here too. See that right there? It bends. Also right here, it bends. Well, you could say that is a little bit of a combination of coming off the brakes nice and easy, right? As opposed to this one. That's sort of, they call this a V shape, and they call this a U shape. See how that kind of looks like a U, and this one kind of looks like a V, right? You see that? That's more of a V right there. This big old guy right here means this is on the test. This is called U versus V. And this thing right here, if you think about it, we're slowly coming off the brakes. Do you see that? And that generally relates to some some wheel right there. So let's look right here at what we're doing. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And if you know this corner, you know exactly what's going on. So one of the first things I'm doing is I'm going, okay, where are we at in this corner? That's in here. And if it helps you to do this, let's just do this. Let's go right down in here, right? If you're familiar with the track, this will help you learn it. And we're going to go right down in here and let's do something real easy. So what we could say is, I see a couple things, right? I see some apex curbing right here and right here. So let's look for the minimum speed coming through here. And it looks like it's about right in here, right? That's almost always at or near apex. So that looks like to be about right here. So we could see that we're apexing in and about right there. It might be pretty close. So it looks like it's about right in here, I think. Do you see that? And what's interesting to know is that is about the same time we start going to power, right? And that's also about the same point where this wheel starts going the other direction, knowing that this wheel is temporarily straight right here, right? Just like the wheel is pretty close to straight right here. This doesn't mean steering wheel. This doesn't mean steering wheel. This means we're not getting back and forth side to side motion. Does that make sense? So let's go back here a little bit. And we'll go right here. So we're going on to the bridge right there, and that wheel looks pretty straight. Do you see that right there? And you see that right there? It's pretty close. Let's just zoom in on the bridge just for fun. See if that red GPS line. Now that thing looks pretty straight. You see that? I'm sorry, I just covered it up. It looks pretty straight, and that correlates to that. So that would make sense, right? And that would make sense right here too, because we're starting at 100 and some miles an hour. This driver is going, I'm going to brake in a straight line, right? But you can see this right here. Remember, this is your feet. And below here is negative longitudinal G's, right? Just like this right here, and that correlates to going to brakes. So again, I really like looking at all these and using a track map together. So let's go down and let's look at some more of your favorite track here. Let's go all the way down to coming on the front straight. And what we can conclude for this, remember this is your feet. Oh wow, just got a green color. I'm not sure how that worked. Longitudinal is your feet. Above here is throttle. Below here is brake. What we can say, coming onto the front straight, we're going to look at these last two corners, which should be this one and this one. Remember, here's the hands, and so that wheel is straight. And that wheel right here is going to be this part right here, right? This part right here. And this part right here, turning the wheel, is right here. And then this part right here, come on, software, is right here, okay? So as we approach and come into here, take a look what's going on. Here's our feet. We're going to brake, right? We're going to brake. There's a little bit of throttle right here. The wheel is turned. Here's the throttle right here. Remember, we do this whole thing straight up and down, right? And here's, well, there's a little bit of brake right here. Let's look right down here. Right? See it? Speed goes down, right? Oops, lost my software. Speed goes down a little bit. Come on, baby. Sorry, software issues. Right there is right there, right? And then from here forward, I'm going to open that bad boy up a little bit. Still looking at the same thing. Still looking at the same thing coming onto the front straight. Right here, we're going to power. And we can see that in a couple of ways. Number one, you can see the start of some positive longitudinal G's, positive, above 0. And we can see that right here, right? And plus, if we know the darn track, we know we're trying to go to throttle right here, right? We know we're trying to go to throttle to get onto the front straight. Okay, so here's the big three. Here's the big three right here. Here's the two most important, in my opinion, that will help you learn: long, speed, and track map. And then you weave in lateral to start understanding like what's right here. And anytime we're right here, which usually is where this crosses line, which usually is the minimum, is the apex. Really darn close to that. Okay, let's find another one real quick. Go first couple of turns. Let's go down right here. So I'm going to go right there. That's a little different kind of a turn. There's a good one right there. So here we are right here. Minimum speed, right? It's usually at the apex. We're getting ready to go. We're coming off a brake and we're getting ready to go to throttle, right? Positive is throttle. And we're getting ready to take the wheel out as we add throttle. We're going to trade some of that, the string theory, for some of that as we get some of that. Darn it. Crazy software. We're going to trade some of this steering wheel for some gas, and it's going to take us off the corner. Right over here. Okay, last thing. It's also on the test. XY plot. Okay, I know you just got smoked, right? You're like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? Don't be. This is our last thing. Oopsie. This is our last thing. We're almost done. I'm going to go and I'm going to pick some more laps. I'm going to pick every lap on here so you can see what this looks like. I'm going to try to pick every lap. Come on, software. What's going on here? It's not letting me do it. Oh, there we go. Okay. So what the heck are we looking at, right? You're like, dude, you had me at hello, right? Okay. So this is what this is. Remember when we were back here? And don't be freaking out because there's all these laps. These are all the laps that are highlighted. That's what we see. So you can see one that's down here. It's going really slow. It's like an out lap or in lap probably. Same one right there. And it's what looks like it's red. So it's probably this one right here. Out lap, 2 minute, right? Remember this right here? 0, and this 0 line is longitude, and down is brake, and up is gas. Down, there's a whole bunch of down, and there's only a little bit of up, right? It's only like 0.4 up, and there's like 0.12 on the downside, right? Remember, this is your feet, right? And these are all brakes down here, and this is all gas up here. I want you to remember that right now because of this. Here we go. It's the same exact thing, sports fans. There's our 0. There's a little bit of those little dots that are accelerating, and there's a lot more dots down here that are brake. Okay? Is that making sense? We also know that right here, oh, look, we got a possible issue going on here. Oh, yeah, no, this looks okay. Here's our 0, meaning right here in this particular graph are right-hand turns, and over here are left-hand turns. So when you see this, this is about all I'm going to use this thing for now. Remember how we're doing about over 1.2? Oops, not very straight. 1.2. Remember when we were over here, and I'm going to wait for this graph to come. Remember how we were getting a little more than 1.2 turning? Right? This is where we, up here, this is our hands, right? When we turn the wheel. Lateral G's. Well, that's what this is showing right here. Little more than 1.2. Little more than 1.2. Down here, about 1.2 in braking. Right up here, about 0.3 positive 0.3 above the 0 line and accelerating. So how you read this is, here's the car in the straightaway. Car goes to brake. Over here is when it's fully loaded in the corner in the apex, right? So ideally you're going from right here, you're coming off the brake and you're turning the wheel, you end up over here. This is not on the test. End up over here and you slowly give it gas as you open up the wheel and you end up kind of back over here or in here, right? So that's brake, moving around the outside, 1.3 G's, go to throttle, you end up back here. That's the XY plot. Remember, XY plot, same story. Wow, pretty wild, right? Here's our name of our channel. Lateral, just like the one we used before. Longitudinal, just like the ones we used before. The combination of these three things right here, plus a track map, plus the XY plot, also called a friction circle. By the way, if this was really blown up and bigger, it would look like one of these things. You ever, oopsie, let me try that again. You ever see one of these things in a car or on a video? These big circles, right? And that little ball is bouncing around, right? And it's 1G or whatever, right? And it's braking and it's going down here. That's exactly what this thing is. And if you could draw a big circle around here, it would look like this. But remember, we don't use this part up here because the car doesn't accelerate that hard. It decelerates hard, so it needs to be down here. You can see a couple guys down here at -1. You can see a whole bunch of these if I highlight a whole bunch of these, right? This just takes a second for it to show. There it is. That's why. That's why this is not a full circle, because it doesn't need to be, because the car doesn't accelerate hard. There's our 0 line. This is accelerating. This is the brake. This is how far it turns to the outside. So it really only needs to be, you know, kind of about like this big, with a lot of the time this circle's bouncing around in the middle, right? Braking down here. So that's what that is. It's called a GG plot or a XY plot or a friction circle, and all those things are on the exam. Same way with, here's the maximum amount of lateral grip these tires are getting, about 1.2, a little more than 1.2, call it 1.3, and this thing is braking down here at almost 1.3 also. So there you go. Learned a little about Mosport. This is the fundamentals, guys. This is what learning this stuff is all about. And when you're ready to take a certification exam, watch another video like this. I got a whole bunch of them. I'm going to make them for all the tracks. You'll have the fundamentals down, and you can go into the next step, which is analysis. Analysis will allow you to go, oh, here's what I'm looking at. Yep, that's a shift. That's a brake, right? That's gas, right? All that stuff. There's a little trail right there. Do we see that? Analysis will allow you to better understand what you're looking at, because you got to know what you're looking at first, right? You got to know what you're looking at first before you go in and say, okay, I'm gonna do some behaviors to get some preferred results. So there you go. That's it. No more. I'm out of here. I'm Eric Meyer. Hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed yourself. If you like this video, please like it. Give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more like it, subscribe. I put a lot of these beginner videos out to reinforce what you know. If Mosport is your home track, this should come very easily. If you've never seen Mosport before and you understood everything that I said, you're getting this stuff down. So good for you. I'm Eric Meyer. We'll talk to you soon.